What if I told you that right now, someone close to you is planning to lie to you today? And here's the scary part. You probably won't even notice. Most people get lied to 200 times every single day without knowing it. They lie about where they were. They lie about who they were texting. They lie about why they didn't show up for you when you needed them most. And the absolute worst part, when your gut tells you they are lying, when you can literally feel the deception in the room, they look you dead in the eyes and they make you feel like you are the crazy one. But what if you could flip the script? What if you could become like a human lie detector and catch every single lie before you get fooled? What if you could take back your power so completely that a toxic person would never even dare to try and manipulate you again? Here's the truth nobody tells you about lying. It's not just about catching bad people or criminals. Your best friend might lie to you about where they went last night. Your romantic partner might lie about who is blowing up their phone at 2 a.m. Your boss might lie about why your project got rejected. The truth is, everyone lies, and if you can't spot it, you are living in a world of fake stories, constantly being treated like a doormat, and constantly wondering why you feel so drained and confused all the time. Listen close, because I used to be exactly where you are. I used to be the person who gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. I used to be the person who ignored my own gut feelings just to keep the peace. 4 years ago, I had a best friend. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus and I did everything together. We started a small side business. We shared the same friend group. We trusted each other. At least I thought we did. One Friday night, we were supposed to launch a new project we had been working on for months. I was sitting at my kitchen table, my laptop open, waiting for him to show up. We had a hard deadline. An hour went by. Nothing. 2 hours went by. I called his phone. It went straight to voicemail. I started getting that familiar, heavy feeling in my chest. That tight, anxious knot that tells you something is deeply wrong. Have you ever felt that? That moment where your brain is desperately trying to make excuses for someone, but your body already knows the truth. I was sitting there thinking maybe he got into an accident, maybe his phone died, maybe there's an emergency. He finally walked through the door at 1 a.m. He smelled like alcohol and expensive cologne, not like someone who had been stuck at the office or dealing with a family crisis. I looked at him, trying to keep my voice steady, and I asked, "Where were you?" We had a deadline, and this is where the manipulation started. This is the exact playbook toxic people use. He didn't apologize, he didn't look ashamed, he looked annoyed. He sighed, dropped his keys on the counter, and said, "I told you I had to meet with a potential client. Why are you always so sensitive? You're overreacting." My stomach dropped. I specifically remembered him saying he was going to the gym and then coming straight over. But the way he looked at me, with absolute confidence, made me pause. My inner monologue started spiraling. Wait, did he say he had a client meeting? Am I remembering this wrong? Am I being too dramatic? Am I suffocating him? I sat there and I let him gaslight me. I let him make me doubt my own memory, my own reality. I said I was sorry. I apologized to the person who had just betrayed my trust and ruined our project. I shrank myself down to make him comfortable. And you know what happened? He smiled, patted me on the back, and went to sleep. He won. For the next 6 months, I lived in a constant state of paranoia. I was catching little inconsistencies everywhere. He would say he was at home, but I'd hear music and a crowd in the background of his voice notes. He would say our business accounts were low because of taxes, but the math never added up. Every time I brought it up, he deployed the same exact weapons. "You're remembering it wrong. You can't take a joke. Why do you always make things about you?" I felt like I was losing my mind. I was exhausted, anxious, and my self-esteem was completely destroyed. I felt invisible. I felt like nobody cared. I felt like I was shrinking every single day just to survive in my own life. But then, something shifted. I realized that toxic people don't show up with red flags on their foreheads. They don't walk into your life screaming, "Hey, I'm here to ruin everything." They come in quietly, they smile, they act nice, they use simple words to trap you. And I decided right then and there, I was never going to let anyone play games with my head ever again. I started studying. I obsessively researched human psychology, body language, and interrogation tactics. I realized that secret agents and detectives have been using hidden tricks to catch liars for years. And today, I am going to hand you their exact playbook. I am going to teach you their most powerful secrets. By the end of this video, you will know exactly when someone is lying to you, even before they finish talking. You will never be made a fool of again. Let's dive in. Grab a pen, because this is the stuff that changes your life. Trick number 1, the baseline trick. This is what FBI agents use before they ever start interrogating a suspect. Before you ask someone a tricky question, you have to know how they act when they are completely relaxed and telling the truth. This is called establishing a baseline. Most people mess this up. They jump straight into the accusation. They scream, "Where were you last night?" And when the person gets nervous, they think, "Aha, they are lying." No, they might just be nervous because you are screaming at them. Here is what you do instead. You watch how the person acts normally. Notice their voice. Notice how they sit. Notice how they move their hands. When they talk about something simple, like what they had for breakfast, or a movie they just watched. Where do their eyes go? Do they talk fast? Do they talk slow? Do they use their hands a lot? Or do they keep them still? This is their normal mode. Once you know their baseline, you have a secret code that only you can read. Because when the brain has to invent a lie, it takes a massive amount of cognitive energy. The body cannot act completely normal while the brain is working that hard. If someone who usually looks you dead in the eye suddenly stares at the floor, that's a massive red flag. If someone who talks fast suddenly slows down and measures every single word, something is up. You aren't looking for nervousness. You are looking for a deviation from their normal baseline. Trick number 2, the magic assumptive question. Most people ask terrible questions that make lying super easy. They ask simple yes or no questions, like asking, "Did you go out last night?" When you ask a yes or no question, you are doing all the work for the liar. All they have to do is say no. It takes zero brain power to say no. That's way too simple to lie about. But here is what smart detectives do instead. They ask questions that make liars sweat. Instead of asking, "Did you go out last night?" you use the magic assumptive question. You look at them calmly and you ask, "What made you stay out so late last night?" Do you see the massive difference there? You are not asking if they went out. You are assuming they did, and you are assuming they stayed late. Now their brain goes into absolute panic mode. They have to either tell the truth, or they have to invent a massive, highly detailed story on the spot to explain away your assumption. And making up detailed stories on the spot is exactly where liars always mess up. Trick number 3, the 5-second rule. This is the most dangerous weapon in your arsenal. It's like having superpowers. When you ask someone a difficult question or an assumptive question, you do not keep talking. You stop, you close your mouth, and you watch them like a hawk for exactly 5 seconds. Not 6 seconds, not 4 seconds, exactly 5 seconds. Why? Because human beings hate silence, and when a liar hears a tough question, their brain needs a few seconds to construct a believable lie. During those first 5 seconds, their brain is fighting the hardest. They are scrambling, panicking, trying to figure out what you know and what they should say. And in those first 5 seconds, their body will tell you the absolute truth, even when their mouth doesn't. Look for these specific microsigns. Do they suddenly touch their face or rub their nose? Do they look away and break eye contact? Do they pause for way too long? Does their voice suddenly go up an octave and get weird? Now, one sign means nothing. Maybe their nose just itched. But if you see 2 or more of these signs clustered together in those exact 5 seconds, boom, you've caught them. They are lying to you. And here's the crazy part about this trick. This works even on people who think they are incredibly good liars. Their biology betrays them before their words even leave their mouth. Trick number 4, the word trick. Liars are terrified of being completely trapped in a corner. They hate making absolute statements because they know that if you find evidence later, they are doomed. So their subconscious mind builds escape routes into their sentences. Listen closely to the words they use. Here is the word trick that catches almost everyone. When people lie, they use wishy-washy, weak words. Words like maybe, I think, probably, to the best of my knowledge, or I guess. They do this because they're scared of getting caught in a firm, undeniable lie. Instead of saying I was at home, which is a concrete statement, they will say I think I was probably at home. See how weak that sounds? They are giving themselves a psychological escape route. So if you later prove they weren't at home, they can say, well, I said I thought I was just confused. Pay close attention to these weak words, especially when someone is telling you something highly important. If they cannot say it with absolute confidence, there is a very high chance they are not telling you the truth. Trick number 5, the double check trap. This trick is genius because it exploits the fact that human memory is terrible at holding on to fake information. Truth tellers stay consistent because they are simply remembering a movie that played in their head, a real event. Liars are not remembering an event, they are remembering a script they wrote 5 minutes ago, and fake stories are incredibly hard to keep straight. Here is how you set the double check trap. You ask about the exact same thing twice, but you do it in completely different ways, spaced out over time. First, casually ask, "You went to the movies yesterday, right?" They will likely nod and say, "Yes, I went to the movies." You say, "Cool," and you move on. Talk about the weather, talk about work, let their guard down. Then, exactly 10 minutes later, while you are talking about something else, you suddenly ask, "Oh, by the way, what movie did you see yesterday?" Watch them freeze. Liars forget the minor details of what they said the first time. They might panic and say, "Oh, I didn't actually end up seeing a movie, I just went to the mall." Boom. Caught. You just trapped them in their own web. Trick number 6, the topic swap. When someone is lying to you, their body is flooding with stress hormones. They are in fight or flight mode. And more than anything else in the world, they want to escape that conversation. So, they will use the topic swap trick. When you are getting too close to the truth, they will suddenly try to change the subject entirely. You'll be pressing them about a missing transaction at work, and suddenly they'll point at their phone and say, "Hey, Did you see that funny video of the dog? Or, oh man, I totally forgot to tell you about what happened with Sarah today? This is their brain's ultimate panic button. They are desperately trying to run away from the heat of the conversation because they are terrified you are putting the puzzle pieces together. When this happens, do not let them off the hook. Gently but firmly, bring them right back to the original topic. Look them in the eye and say something like, "We can talk about that video later, but first, tell me more about what happened with the account." When you do this, watch how physically uncomfortable they get. Watch them squirm in their seat. They know that you know. Trick number 7, the interrupt trap. This trick is almost unfair. It is pure psychological warfare against a manipulator. Lying requires immense focus. As I said before, a liar is reading off a mental script. They are walking a tightrope, trying to make sure their story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, you are going to break their tightrope. Right when someone is in the middle of telling their fake story, you interrupt them with a completely random question about something that happened before their story even started. For example, if they are rambling, "So I left the office, and I went to the store and bought milk," and then, you jump in instantly and say, "Wait, what were you doing right before you decided to go to the store?" This absolutely scrambles their brain. Because lying takes so much thinking, when you interrupt them with a chronological jump, you force their brain to juggle two impossible things at once: holding on to their fake story and inventing a new prequel to the story on the spot. Most liars cannot handle this cognitive overload. They will either get completely confused, start stuttering, or they will start telling a completely different story entirely. Their script crashes like a broken computer. Trick number 8, the fake detail trap. This is the final nail in the coffin. You are going to slip a completely wrong, fabricated detail into the conversation and see what they do with it. Let's say they are telling you a story about being stuck in traffic for 2 hours. You look at them with empathy and say, "Man, that sucks, especially since you said it was pouring rain that day." Now, here is the secret. They never mentioned rain, and it wasn't raining. Someone who is telling the absolute truth has a firm grasp on reality. They will look at you confused and correct you immediately. They'll say, "No, it wasn't raining, it was sunny." But a liar? A liar is so terrified of contradicting you and making you suspicious that they will often just agree and go along with your fake detail. They are afraid that correcting you will make their whole fragile story fall apart. They'll nod and say, "Yeah, the rain made the traffic so much worse." And in that exact second, you have them. You know, with absolute certainty, that every word out of their mouth is garbage. Now, stop for a second. Listen to me very closely. What do you do once you catch them? What do you do when you use the 5-second rule? You use the fake detail trap, and you realize that your partner, your friend, or your boss is looking you in the eyes and feeding you a calculated lie. This is where 99% of people mess up and give their power right back to the toxic person. When most people catch a liar, they get emotional, they yell, they cry, they defend themselves, they explain why the lie hurts. They react big, and that is exactly the problem. When you react big, you show them they got to you. You show them they have power over your emotions. Toxic people feed on your reactions. It's like food to them. Do you know what weak people do? They explain everything. They give long speeches trying to make the liar understand why lying is bad. Stop doing that right now. When you over-explain, you sound desperate for their approval. When someone lies to you, it doesn't matter if it's a small lie or a big lie. What they are actually doing is sending you a very clear message. When someone lies to you, they are saying you are not important enough for the truth. They are saying you do not matter. And every single time you accept a lie, every time you make an excuse for them, you are agreeing with them. You are telling them, "You're right, I don't matter. No more." Here is your new strategy. This is the power move that breaks a manipulator's brain into a million pieces. The moment you catch the lie, you do not yell, you do not cry, you look at them, you keep your face completely blank, you let 3 seconds of pure silence pass. 1, 2, 3, and then you speak up. Not mean, not loud, just calm and brutally clear. You say, "That's not true. I know what really happened." And then, you stop talking. You shut your mouth. You use silence as your ultimate weapon. Silence makes manipulators panic. It makes them uncomfortable because they can't control the narrative anymore. They will try to gaslight you. They will try to call you sensitive. They will say, "Why are you being so dramatic?" And when they do, you pull out the ultimate conversation killer. You look at them, totally unfazed, and you say, "I'm not available for this." And you walk away. You leave the room, you leave the conversation, you disappear. You see, a boundary without a consequence is just a wish. If you tell someone not to lie to you, but you stick around and argue with them every time they do, your boundary means absolutely nothing. You have to teach people that treating you badly has severe consequences, not by yelling, but by quietly removing your presence. Bad treatment means they lose access to you, and your access is valuable. Your time is precious. Nobody wants to say this out loud, but as long as you are scared of people not liking you, they own you. They control you. They know you will tolerate their lies just to keep them around. You have to get comfortable with the idea that some people won't like you, and that is better than okay. That is necessary. When you stop caring about being liked by liars, something amazing happens. Toxic people leave, because you are not easy to manipulate anymore. And good, honest people start respecting you more, because they see you have ironclad boundaries. You do not owe anyone an explanation for protecting yourself. You do not need permission to set boundaries. You do not need to justify walking away from people who look you in the eyes and lie to your face. Your peace matters infinitely more than making a manipulator feel comfortable. So here is your homework for today. The next time you have a gut feeling that someone is playing games with you, don't ignore it. Don't push it down. Don't make excuses for them. Use the baseline trick. Hit them with an assumptive question. Watch them for exactly 5 seconds. Listen for those wishy-washy words. Catch the lie. Name it calmly. And be ready to walk away. When you start protecting your energy, your entire life gets lighter. You stop carrying the heavy, exhausting weight of other people's toxic drama. You become a force field. You become untouchable. And the person who tried to lie to you, they will be the one losing sleep at night, realizing they lost someone strong, smart, and impossible to fool. If this video opened your eyes and helped you understand the psychology of liars, I need you to smash that subscribe button right now. One click, that's all it takes. By subscribing, you're not just getting more content, you're joining a community of strong people who refuse to be victims anymore. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 7 tricks you are going to use first. I read every single comment, and I love seeing you guys take your power back. Protect your peace, trust your gut, and never accept a lie from anyone. I'll see you in the next video.